What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. Today we are back and we are going to discuss, as you know, things are wrapping up quickly with the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup Final. We're going to discuss the future for the Florida Panthers because Aaron Ekblad and Sam Bennett are two big name UFA unrestricted free agents this summer on July 1st. Their contracts come to an end. So with just a couple of really days at this point until that time, where are things standing? So Sam Bennett, it looks like, is going to return to the Florida Panthers, and his number is pretty high. $9 million potentially on the table for Sam Bennett. I think at this point it's a matter of just let's finish the playoffs, let's try to win a Stanley Cup first, and probably by the time this video is released, it might be over by then. I hope so. But for Sam Bennett, it sounds like it's going to be around $9 million. You could assume it's an 8-year deal, right? Because there were teams offering maybe 10 on the open market, but they could only give him 7 years. Well, maybe if there's an 8-year deal, so that extra year on the deal, maybe that $1 million less per season is more attractive to Bennett. And he's willing to take that $9 million instead of $10 million on the market, but he gets that extra year. Right, so that might be what's happening there with the Panthers. That's an easy one. So Sam Bennett, all the rumors of him maybe going elsewhere, things can collapse quickly once contract talks actually start. But as of right now, it sounds like he wants to be back with the Panthers, and I would say that's a pretty good bet there. Now, Aaron Ekblad, a little bit of a different story here. So there's a lot of different teams that are kind of interested in Ekblad. It doesn't sound like he'll be back. I think they really like Seth Jones. I think the Panthers are going to try to keep Seth Jones. He just seems to mesh well with this team. He seems to fit the system well. He's younger than Ekblad, kind of less injury prone. I think the Panthers are going to part ways with their former first overall pick. So that's going to be an interesting storyline going into the summer. But David Paganotta said that the Oilers, Red Wings, and the Maple Leafs could have interest in Ekblad if he hits the free agency market. Now, David Paganotta kind of followed that up, and he said that the Panthers want Ekblad to take a pretty significant pay decrease, somewhere in the range of the $6 million AAV range. Now, I think that's fair. I mean, again, you got to consider the age and let's be honest, the framework of his body at this point. He has taken a beating in his NHL career over the past decade. And it's pretty safe to assume the Panthers do not want to commit that much money to a guy that they don't know how liable, like how stable is he going to be over the next decade. And I think when you have another player like Seth Jones who can kind of fill that role, they're going to go that alternate route. And I think this is where, for the Florida Panthers, it's giving up a player like Ekblad, which sucks, but going for the player that's going to be better for this team in the future. And if they want to chase another Stanley Cup next year, you have a better chance of doing that with a guy like Seth Jones than you do right now with Aaron Ekblad. And that's a tough decision to make. That's why general managers get paid the money they make, because they got to take the sentiment out of it. The first overall pick, one of the key guys that got the Panthers back to relevancy, was Ekblad. When they brought in Aaron Ekblad as the first overall pick of the Barrie Colts, that was a significant point for this Florida Panthers team where they really turned things around. So to be losing Ekblad, it sucks, but I think I think Panthers fans realistically know that the writing's on the wall at this point, and unless that contract really comes down significantly, I think they're going to try to keep Seth Jones over Aaron Ekblad. That's just the reality of hockey. That's the reality of the situation. And I think that when you just consider just the situation around this Florida Panthers team, again, when we just talked about giving $9 million out to Sam Bennett, $6 million out potentially to Ekblad, like the money starts to eat up very quickly. And if the Florida Panthers did want to try to bring back Brad Marchand, that's another contract that they would have to look at. I don't think that's on the table at this point. I think Marchand will hit the free agent market, but there is a possibility he comes back, right? I mean, if he really wants to be a Panther, I think the Panthers will try to find a way to make that work, but that's something that they're going to have to figure out. And then again, you have the whole situation with Seth Jones to consider. There is a lot that the Panthers are going to be figuring out this offseason. There's a lot going on, and again, if they wanted to bring in Mitch Marner, that is another significant piece here, right? Like, do they not bring back Sam Bennett if they go out and sign Marner on July 1st? Maybe. That's a possibility. But then again, if you sign a guy like Marner, you're definitely not bringing back Ekblad, probably not bringing back Bennett, and you're probably not bringing back Marchand. There's a lot of different decisions that are going to be involved there. Do the Panthers want to make that type of move? It's definitely a risky one. And I think the way Sam Bennett plays with the Panthers, I think this is the perfect spot for him. I think he goes out and makes $10 million on a 7-year deal elsewhere. He might not be the same player. And I think in the playoffs, he's one of those guys that is better in the playoffs. He is a guy that during the regular season is annoying. And when you're watching him in person, you're like, man, that guy's annoying to play against. But he's not the same player. And that's no disrespect to Sam Bennett. If anything, I would take a Sam Bennett in the playoffs over than a Mitch Marner. Because I think a guy like Sam Bennett has more of an impact on the game during the postseason. And that's when you need your players most. That's when you need your players to sign the best, right? You can win the President's Trophy 5 straight years, but if you lose in the first round of the playoffs and you get swept, or you lose in the conference finals or the cup final, it doesn't really matter. Nobody cares about that President's Trophy because you didn't win the Stanley Cup. And I think that a guy like Sam Bennett, in the right situation, can be a great player. And that's why maybe a lot of people didn't talk about him as much in Calgary, because when those years they weren't doing so well, they weren't making the playoffs, nobody really knew much about Sam Bennett. And really, once he started making those deep playoff runs again, like he did in the beginning of his career in Calgary, that's when people started to really pick up on just how valuable a player Sam Bennett really is. And I think Calgary Flames fans knew that the whole time, but he's really turned it up on a level of a team that's really, really solid like the Panthers. And I think that's something to keep an eye on when we kind of look at, maybe the future of what could happen with Sam Bennett. So, kind of with everything being said, I think the Panthers are in a good situation. I think they have a lot of different decisions to make. But this is going to be one of those things where you got to really make tough decisions when you win and lose in the playoffs. And that's, I think it'll be easier for guys to take it depends, right? Like, it could be one of those things, they take a discount to stay with the Panthers to win again, or they win a Stanley Cup here, and then it's, well, now, I've won my Stanley Cup, I'm going to go for the money now. And guys might do that as well. So we'll find out what happens over the next couple of days, I'm sure. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned to the channel. The draft is coming up next week. It is crazy how quickly things are flying by. The Stanley Cup Finals are wrapping up or done by the time this video uploads. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again next time.